Hi there. I am here, and I have brought two of my very good friends with me for today's episode of Stand Up. Sorry I did not get this posted yesterday on Friday. It's Saturday morning, but on Friday at about 10 a.m., I went live on several platforms now, including Substack. I think 6 platforms is where I go live on, and it was a great audience that joined live to watch the conversation I had with the great Maura Quint, and it was one of the best. And at the end of this conversation, she says something so important, so poignant, so actually actionable, an action you can take. That's such a good one. I highly recommend you listen to the end. If you listen to anything, I'm going to clip it up. I'm going to promote it. I'm going to franchise this idea that she did, and I hope that you will as well. So very happy to have Maura Quint back. And then Friday night around 5 o'clock, I got to talk with Christian Finnegan, and I also went live with him on several platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Substack, and YouTube, of course. Primarily, I tell people to go watch it on YouTube because I feel like it's the easiest place that people know how to get around. But any of those is good, and I hope you'll subscribe to substack.com/standupwithpete. But I've got both those conversations today separately. First, I've got Maura, then I've got Christian. Of course, I talked with both of them almost entirely about the shooting, killing, assassination, however you choose, of Charlie Kirk and the reaction to it, and all of the ways. Those were two of the people that I definitely knew I wanted to talk to about this, which is obviously dominating our headlines. People are on really a razor's edge, feeling very concerned. It's a very high frequency pitch, it seems like right now. The pressure cooker that is our very violent American culture. I know a few of you have had all kinds of pranks or fake phone calls called into the schools that your kids are going to. It's really tough. It's really scary, and there is a lot to talk about and connect over. And so that's why I've got two of my closest friends who join here on the show regularly, who help me make sense of what's going on, who help me feel differently often about what is happening. Sometimes a lot better, sometimes a little bit worse, feeling more critical or more understanding of their opinions and their take on things. They're real smart, they're real kind and loving and generous and brilliant and talented, both these guys. So I thought it would be great to have a conversation with each of them separately, and that is what I did. So coming up, Maura Quint, and then after that, Christian Finnegan. And if you want to jump to Christian, it begins at 50 minutes. But first, follow Maura on TikTok, where she puts up pretty regular little commentaries, which are fun, funny, poignant, smart, and important. Also on Instagram, she's active there, as well as Blue Sky. Follow her on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Maura is a writer, a creator, and an activist. She's a mom of 2 boys, and she's a very good friend of mine. Her work has appeared in publications including The New Yorker, The Onion, and so many more, including McSweeney's, where she does those great debate breakdowns. She's the co-creator of Tax March, and she has been a constant and consistent critic of the uber wealthy, the End the Billionaire movement, and so much more. Right now, she is working with a great organization called Fair Share America, fairshareusa.org. Go check them out. They're doing great work. And now my conversation from yesterday morning, which you can watch live on YouTube or any of those other platforms that I mentioned, with the always awesome Maura Quint. Yes, there she is. You asked for her. You got her. She's very busy, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard to get a hold of her, to get her to join you in one of these. And now we are live on several different platforms, so anything can happen. Maura Quint, welcome back. Great to see you.
It's great to be here, and kind of intimidating, the whole live thing, but all right, let's do it. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Who knows what could happen. You can use the live chat if you do join us live and say things over there that I may or may not bring up, but and then also we can get things wrong. And we have breaking news as we're talking here. Friday morning at 10 a.m., our Mad King went on his favorite network that he loves to trash and not be questioned about, and announced that they have a suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination. And now there's some reporting about who it is. Who knows if it's accurate? But you're just learning this like a minute. I told you haven't checked the news today. You're not a dick. You don't have it pouring into your veins this morning.
I would have, but I had to blow dry my hair because I knew I was doing this. So I was like, it took away from 10 minutes of my day, and I missed this. So I hadn't heard.
We're all very thankful for that. I can't imagine.
It didn't go well. The bangs are not laying right. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. This is more important. They have a suspect. He told me they got a guy.
They got a guy, and everybody's speculating about the guy, and conspiracy theories abound. And you're entertaining a few, and I want to get to that. But before that, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, and I said this last night at our hangout, where there's 70 listeners, most of which know you, familiar with you, and are confident in you and a lot of the things that you say. Been watching you spout off on Blue Sky, et cetera. And I said, that's who I want to talk to, because I do think that a lot of us identify with your kind of moral feeling. It's similar to mine, but you're very good at articulating them in a way I sometimes can't. And then also sometimes I think you're more courageous to say things either privately or publicly that you feel, because you feel so strongly about them. I'm not sure how often you ever regret anything, but you've been really confident and strong about your reactions to Charlie Kirk's death and the reporting on it. So I guess that's really why I want to talk to you about it, because I really appreciate and respect your views on things.
Well, I appreciate that. And I have not, I can't say this, but I'll knock on wood. I'm at a wood table that I have not really regretted anything I think I've said. I don't know. I forget at the moment I've said it. So in general. About
this or in general?
I meant in general. This has been a really tough place to navigate, I think. I've really, really struggled with this one, and I've been really inundated. I mean, I think other than that whole 10 minutes that I missed 20 minutes ago, I've been really hyper-focused on it, and I can't look away by nature of my work. Similar to you, you have to be very informed and up on what's going on, and I'm staring at socials and reading news. So yesterday was the first day in my life that I said, I kind of wish I had like an office to go to and I could just like stare at a spreadsheet for several hours and just not pay attention to any of this. But I had to keep looking at it, and it's been really, really frustrating and really, really infuriating, and very much a constant gut check of like, okay, what are we saying? What are we thinking? What does this mean? How big a deal to make this? Because I think probably the majority of your listeners, as I've come to know your audience, does not like Charlie Kirk and has not liked Charlie Kirk for a really long time, right. And is also well aware of who Charlie Kirk is, right? Like that's not a given. I think a huge, huge part of our population has never heard of this guy, and that's great. I'm so happy for them. But you're speaking to a listenership who knows. And if you know who he is, and you know what he has done and what he's been advocating for and the effects of the work that he has already put into place, you know that he's been a terrible person. He's lived his life in a really awful way. He has created a tremendous amount of harm and put a huge amount of hatred into the world and stoked fires if he didn't create the fire himself. And so it is very, very, very difficult then to see so many people creating a hagiography of him now and speaking of him in this sort of highly vaulted saintly way. It's deeply, deeply frustrating and upsetting. And for me, the reason it's most upsetting is because I know this will be the first time so many people have ever even heard of Charlie Kirk, and they're hearing lies, and that's frustrating.
The only thing I would say in reaction to that is even someone like me who pays close attention to politics, I've known Charlie Kirk since he basically came on the scene in his early 20s, and even I didn't know the extent of the horror that he has brought and wrought. And one of the things, for example, I knew that he has been primarily focused, like a lot of right wingers and MAGA, on the trans issue, because it's a huge winner for them. And I know that it was a huge winner for them at my school, in my school board. And even some liberals didn't like what they were hearing and seeing about trans bathrooms, sports, and all that nonsense. But he was one of the loudest voices on that. And the other specific thing I didn't know is how he would target specific trans people and their families. And And those specific lives have been destroyed. And I've been seeing a lot of his targets, a lot of people that he specifically targeted come out and said, that man made my life a holy hell and threatened my family. And we've been having threats and so on. And one person said, I don't wish his family, I don't want him to be killed, and I don't wish his family ill will, but I do hate him and won't miss him. The other thing people said, just want to get you to respond to all of it or any of it. Last night at the Hangout, people talked about he's such a terrible person. So, and he's done so much damage. And so I'm glad he's dead, and I'm glad he's not doing damage, and I'm not going to be ashamed of that. And I felt this way after Rush Limbaugh, somebody said, died. And I said, yes, but no one killed Rush Limbaugh. And yes, but if we find out the killer, that will matter who the killer was. This man was assassinated in front of people. It was horrific. And one could easily argue that he and his movement will become bigger and larger as a result of the killing. So take any of those threads that you want, Maura.
I think one of the most poignant things that I saw, and it was, possibly even said a little bit as a joke, but also in full deadly serious, is the right will use anything to incite violence on their side. They were calling for civil war because the Cracker Barrel logo changed. So I struggle sometimes with this is the thing that they're going to latch on, and this is going to incite something. They have been inciting something. That has been their MO. They will use anything. And it is pretty disgusting that whether or not the M&M is hot enough or a man being publicly murdered, those are the same for the right. They will use them in the exact same way. I mean, and that is not me making assumptions. That is, we can look at it. We can point to it. They call for the same level of anger and violence and outrage. It is another thing, but I struggle with that only because it's usually used as everybody on the left has to be really, really nice. If we're really good and really quiet and we stay very, very still, they won't ratchet anything up against us. It is this sort of language of abuse that we keep using with the right, where if we are just good enough and we say the nice enough things and we are devout enough, they won't come after us. And that's just simply not true. It's not. They're going to continue to incite violence against everyone else for as long as they are allowed to, as long as they are given platforms and they have power. And so I don't think there are things we can say about Charlie Kirk that will make it go away or that will make the bad guys be nice to us. I don't think that is the case. And, publicly, I think, let me say, I have spoken to a lot of people. And in this particular instance, I have not spoken to many people on the right. I've listened, but I haven't had dialogue. Most of the people I've been having dialogue with the last couple of days have been people who are ideologically aligned, who are on the left in various ways to various degrees. Not a single person, not one, feels good or wants to see someone murdered. That is not a value of the left. It's just not. I've never heard that. I've never seen it. I've never seen evidence of it. That's not what anybody wants. I mean, let's put Charlie Kirk aside. The trauma of all of those kids watching that, of all of these people having to see that, the trauma, the fact that someone has access to the gun to do that, the fact that you are talking about, you're in Utah and you're talking about a population that is heavily armed, and all of the arguments that, a good guy with a gun will stop a guy. Well, you had a ton of people with guns. Nobody could stop that. So that's not a world that any of us wants to live in. But I don't think that we have to exalt Charlie Kirk in order to make that point.
Yeah.
I mean, a man was murdered. That is tragic. Charlie Kirk was also a bad person. Those are two true facts.
One of a very bad person that your uncle's an asshole and nobody likes him because he's a curmudgeon, but he's not spreading hate and fear and destroying the lives of people, professors and teachers who are on Charlie Kirk's list, marginalizing trans people, saying all the horrific things, and doing a lot too as well. Around people of color. I mean, this guy really was probably one of the most influential people in all of MAGA and right-wing politics and government for the last decade. And so it's an even more specific thing that it's him. Also, you posted, and I really like this, and it kind of touches on what you were just saying. A couple days ago, you posted, I want everyone, even those who I despise, to have health care. I want everyone, even Republicans, to be able to afford food and housing. I want everyone, even those on the right who actively work to build the opposite, to live in a place that is safe from violence. Related to that, yesterday, in a group of 20 guys, I am in a text group from high school, and I know a couple of them are MAGA. But they would never say anything political in the group. And yesterday, this guy piped up and he praised and said a lot about Charlie Kirk. And I came for him. And I went nuts because but my point of bringing that up is I then said to him, listen, man, I think that I don't like you. I've never liked you. We were never friends. I don't wish any suffering to you or your family, though, ever, but definitely lose my number is what I said. That's what I said to him. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is like playing out your post. Like, I don't want him to suffer just because I despise his views or him in general, his character. So that's, I think, important to maintain those values.
And that is right. A value that I would say in general, obviously not everyone, but the larger movement of the left embodies, which is empathy and care for others, which is, of course, something Charlie Kirk preached against, right? He said empathy is bad and we should.
And he said it.
He said, I'm using his words. I'm not describing him. That is a stance he took. But we have the opposite. Now, empathy, though, is a very big thing. And we can have it. Another thing I've said many times is, I care deeply about humanity and everyone, while at the same time really fucking hating people. Like, I don't want to have to be around everyone and hang out and be besties, right. But that doesn't mean I don't want a full society where everyone has the things that they need. And additionally, there is even and I think this gets lost sometimes, but I always it's weird to me that it gets lost. There is a full, if your whole deal is just, I really don't give a shit about anyone else. I just want for me and mine. If that's your worldview for any number of reasons, your life and the life of those around you is better when the people around you are not desperate, are not hungry, are not scared. You will be safer if everyone has access to opportunities. It is when people are desperate and angry and hurt and weak and sad. Those are things that you don't want your neighbors to be. You want them to be generally doing okay. That's good. You're going to be in a much safer place if they are. And I think that is something that gets overlooked sometimes, because there is this sort of I think especially in America, because we have such a mythology about self, right? And, everybody has to put in the hard work and do it for themselves and bootstraps. And this American cowboy that is of course, it's not real. It's apocryphal. It didn't ever exist like that, but we have this mythology that we're taught. And because of that, there is this belief of it's okay for me to just want for myself and just protect mine and my family. And, if that is where a person is, I think we can still appeal to them, because that's fine. You should be safe, and you're going to be a lot safer if the people next to you aren't starving and in such desperation that they need to break into your house and steal your stuff.
What do you make of the reaction to his death amongst our elected leaders? Everybody is pointing out, this characteristic that you're saying that the left has. Democratic electeds, all of them, overwhelmingly, including those he's targeted for years, have come out and said something around the same thing. This is horrible. Political violence is never, all of that kind of response, boilerplate is coming. And yet when Democrats are assassinated, they might not mention it. They might ridicule it like Mike Lee did with the 4 people who were shot and killed in Minnesota. Trump didn't even call the governor of Minnesota, much less the families of the Democrats who were assassinated in their homes, much less fly the flag at half staff and pick up their, coffins and Air Force Two. What do you make of the difference in the reactions from electeds when political violence or assassinations occur and the difference there? Paul Pelosi got fucking attacked. I heard he's still and probably never will be okay. And Trump and others spread conspiracy theories and made fun of Paul Pelosi. In fact, they have, as you said earlier, incited violence over and over against Democrats. What do you make of the reactions?
I was about to lose my mind yesterday, honestly. Another post that I did the other day was, Dem politicians, you can simply say nothing. You don't have to say anything. You do not have to say anything. I think anyone contributing to the hagiography of an evil person is doing a bad thing and needs to be called out as such. Now, do I understand why Dem politicians feel a need to condemn violence? Sure, absolutely. But you can condemn violence without saying that he was such a great guy. He was so committed to the truth or to whatever the fuck, freedom of speech or whatever the heck they want to. You don't have to add that in. You can say, oh my goodness, suicide is a terrible thing and we should prevent it, without saying, and Adolf Hitler, he did some good things, and like, just because he killed himself, like, there are people who suffer the ends, and you can be against the thing that led to it without having to praise the individual who is no longer with us. You don't have to do that. And it is really frustrating to see that happen. Additionally, and I'm sure I'm not saying anything new here, but I'm hitting my limits of hearing the call for no political violence. Not because I want there to be violence, but because I want there to be no violence. And this addition, this little modifier of political, is so frustrating.
Self-serving from the people who are saying it that could become targets.
Right. What are we saying? We're saying you didn't say shit about the children in a school that were shot yesterday. Yep. You don't say shit about the violence being perpetrated on immigrants, on Black communities, on school children. You say nothing about that, and you're not condemning that. You have to throw in that political, because the only thing you're really concerned about is that we don't start turning the same thing that is being done to whole populations onto the people who have more power. And that is really starting to piss me off. It's really starting to piss me off.
Yeah. I saw how I could sense your anger in your post calling for people to call the governor's office because your governor there in Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, is flying their flag at half-mast. Why do you think that's bad?
Why do I think?
Why do you think
Shut up. No, it's really interesting because I was instantly so furious about that. And several people joined me, and I learned about it while I was on a call, and like a work call, and I sort of said it out loud. And one person who I respect very much and who's a wonderful, thoughtful, intelligent person was like, he probably is just following because it was the order of Trump, and so he's following the order. And I, like, my anger ratcheted up like times 10 because really you can't stand up on something like this, on a simple principle. No one's going to say, you think Trump's going to come for you now? You have to acquiesce on this? That's telling me you'll acquiesce on everything. That's telling me you have nothing that you are standing for. It was so deeply upsetting and infuriating to me. Yeah, my anger it's pretty high. It's pretty high right now these days. It's very frustrating.
Just one question, not specifically about Matthew Dowd or MSNBC, but MSNBC fired Matthew Dowd after comments he made. And I have no love lost for that guy. I know things, and I don't like him. I didn't like him when he was, arguing for the George W. Bush administration and so on. I'm trying to find the exact quote of what he said. He said that Charlie Kirk had been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who was constantly sort of pushing the sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think the environment we're in, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place. And that's the unfortunate environment we are in. And he got fired for that. Yeah, I didn't find that controversial at all.
It's not. And he's not the only one who has faced consequences for things he's said that have been pretty milquetoast.
Oh, who else? I don't know who else. Yeah, if there's anybody else that you know of.
Yeah, I mean, I can share because I don't remember the names, but I know that there is a comic book artist who just had their comic pulled back from DC. It's some sort of later Batman series. It is. I think really all it is showing us it's just more proof points in what we already know. We know right now that everyone in power is capitulating to the Trump and right-wing and Republican administration and power structure. We are there's a lot of conversation about like, when are we going to have that tipping point into like fascism? And the thing is, those moments, those tipping points, those big sort of things, they are only recognizable in retrospect. We are not going to live through it and go, that was it. That was the one. Instead, we are just seeing a series of things. We are marching down a road, but we've already been on it. It's not a new road. We've been on it for some time. And again, historians can later debate where that started. And I'm sure there will be whole books, and I'm sure it will have lots of different possible beginnings. But this modern circumstance that we're in it. And I think that because it is not materially affecting a lot of people yet, it is materially affecting tons of people, but we have a very vast country. We have a lot of privilege. We have a lot of geographical isolation. We have a lot of community isolation. There are many people who are going about their lives and do not feel any changes right now. So because of that, I think there is this sort of like general interest to say like, oh, well, we could devolve into fascism. We could go down that path, as opposed to no, we're already there. What there's not like a moment where you go, oh, that's it. They checked that final box, or they finally all agreed. We're in it. We are in a situation where our media and our power structures, our universities are all saying, okay, I will do what I am told to do by the right wing authoritarian government and the individuals in power, including oligarchs who are working together. Like, I'm sorry, we're just there. So to me, it's just one more proof point. It's not, and it's awful, and I hate it, but it's not unique.
You didn't mention so many other things that are happening right now that are hallmarks of authoritarianism and fascism, and you still made the case. And the DC writer, comic book writer, his name is Gretchen Felker Martin, who identifies as trans, and apparently posted after Charlie Kirk was killed, "Hope the bullet's okay after touching Charlie Kirk. Thoughts and prayers, you Nazi bitch." So that'll get you fired.
I mean, it shouldn't, though. It shouldn't get you fired.
I think
we actually have I don't. Because
I don't know.
That person's job was writing comics. Like, what are we talking about? This is not someone influencing policy. I don't think that should get you fired. I think you should be allowed. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a weirdo free speech person. We don't actually have that anymore. But no, we didn't always live in a world where that would get you fired. And I think assuming that we did is kind of acquiescing a bit of our own history. And we don't have to. It's not even about going backwards, right? Like, we don't have to. There are places where there are brighter futures that we could build.
I think, one of the reasons, obviously, I wanted to talk to you, and everybody was excited when they saw you show up, because I don't promote things much, because that's just another thing to do. Let's create a graphic of Maura joining me live at 10. And then people aren't always on time. You have a technical issue. Your hair's not blown. Your bangs are not lined the way you want them to.
You had to bring up my bangs again? I mean, listen, I'm already not doing great, Pete.
No, you're not doing great. And it's not going to help that the entire live chat is about your bangs.
Better be nice. Better be nice to me.
They look great. I wish I had some, I guess. I wish I just had bangs. Just so. Bangs. But one of the things, obviously I wanted to talk to you about the larger, I think more important reactions, the moral responsibilities, and the ethical ideology around reactions to political assassination, specifically this guy and all that. I think we've covered a lot of it, and I'm sure we can talk more. But I do want to get to the very entertaining, perhaps less important, but still important, very important theories around this assassination. Conspiracy abounds now more than ever. I've been fighting conspiracy theorists my entire career and losing, gaining very little ground while they gain a lot more ground on 9/11 or vaccines or any number of things. And now in the atmosphere that we live in social media, Jesus, the FBI had it wrong the other day, apparently. Even Kash Patel, who's a conspiracy theorist himself and is somehow the head of the FBI, has no idea what he's doing at all. He looks scared. He looks scared all the time because of that eye. And also he's just darting around going, where do I stand? Who do I yell at? Anyway.
I saw someone say he looks in all of these, anytime he's heading anything, he looks like the uncle at the wedding who has forgotten everyone's name and just wants to go home. And that is exactly right.
That's perfect. But what is your general view of conspiracy theorists? I can't think of one that you've ever trafficked in or supported wholeheartedly. But
I'll dabble in a conspiracy here and there. I mean, I find some interesting, and I'm also
interesting. I just get bored of them immediately when I feel like I'm pretty good at going, okay, how?
Well, so here's the conspiracy theory that I've been tracking, the conspiracy theory that I have been tracking is this was an administration action that they chose to kill him because they wanted that sort of like martyrdom and inciting thing.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, why not?
Because you can't do it.
What does that mean?
Who's ordering the killing? How many people
Trump.
know? How many people know?
I don't know. He's got plenty of friends who
people know can't happen.
Interesting. Okay.
It gets out, and those people's lives are ruined. Who would order it? Who's the killer? Why did he do it?
Military.
He's military, but we know who he is.
We don't know who he is.
We always will. We know who they are. They always pretty much always.
I don't know. We have an entire masked force right now. ICE. I don't know who any of those people are.
Well, that's different. In this case,
it's not different though, right? We're amassing individuals who are masked and who are given authority to do who the fuck knows what whenever they want. And we don't know who they are. And we have no say in any of that. That's not different.
It is different because there's thousands of them committing violent acts all the time, and they're all masked. This is one guy who shot the most famous MAGA influencer in the world. And so we're all going to know, we're going to know everything about this kid. And, we almost always know everything about any of these people. We learn everything about every one of these shooters. Everything about them gets scraped and dug into. There's 1 billion journalists looking into his family and talking to his friends and his social media posts. So we'll know.
Who killed JFK?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Okay. And Martin Luther King?
I forget the guy's name, but
But for you, it's a very we got a guy, that's it, and then you're just
there can be other things and influences, but generally these are I don't call them lone wolf because these people are all radicalized by somebody. I don't think that's fair. It's not a lone wolf. There's a lot of people who believe what these kinds of people believe that bring them violence in different cases. I mean, a lot of these people are inspired by other people that have committed similar acts. But go on with, so if it's the administration, if that's the theory that Trump ordered the killing of this guy, why? To distract from the Epstein files?
Yeah, and to have an inciting, incident to like ratchet up more power, and also the theory that he recently had a stroke, and there is this like desire to consolidate and move real quickly now in the moving in troops various places and taking a full authoritarian military control of the country, and so that this would be like a good way to speed that up, given that they are worried about how much time he has and how much power they're going to be able to maintain once he's gone.
Right. So you just could put more thought into it than I think they ever could or would.
Oh, I mean, I don't believe anybody's. I mean, I am definitely of the belief that anytime you talk about 3D, 4D chess, you're talking about like people not capable of playing regular chess. They would not be able to learn their pieces. Right. I fully believe in the Confederacy of Dunces. But I'm interested and I'm fascinated and I'm following this whole conspiracy.
Fascinated is being a human being and paying attention to politics. But you just made an argument against the argument. And I'm not saying that you hold either of these arguments. I'm saying it sounds like you might think maybe on one of them. But at the same time, if the argument is that this came from Trump and to distract and to instill and inspire and so on, accelerate a Reichstag fire moment and so on. But that then they're also a Confederate of dunces. Like, I feel like that's arguing it against that theory.
I mean, they have also done some pretty, first of all, the government has absolutely committed violence against its people multiple times.
Sure.
That's not disputed. And we didn't know about it at the time. So like, I will not be surprised to find out that there are things that have been done. Like that alone means that there has to be some level of skepticism. And we also know that we're dealing with an administration and president who specifically is a liar. And that's their MO. The whole group, that's their MO. I just went through this with like legislation where it's just, here's what the legislation said, and they'll stand there and say, no, it says the opposite. Like, I'm looking at a sentence, man, but they have no problem.
I fully agree with all of that, and I think everybody should be skeptical of the government. But I do think at certain points we learn almost everything there can be to learn. And I also just generally don't believe in conspiracies that are, take more than two people because people talk and so on. But I'm happy to continue entertaining these and try to logically poke holes in them. And by the way, people in the live chat are saying things about the shooter. I don't think we know anything good about the shooter. I don't think we should react to it. I think all we know is that Trump said they have someone. And now there's all this reporting, and I've been on live with Maura, and I'm just not going to repeat any of the details until I don't need to react to it until tonight. We'll know more, and I think that we'll know more and more. And will that then, I think that if in fact the shooter is not out of the perfect narrative, like a trans person who's Antifa, which came out yesterday, which turned out to be false, but then that further corrodes the theory that it was MAGA who ordered.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, for me, and even just kind of watching these conspiracy theories, my interest in them will go up much further if they decide that the shooter is, a blue-haired, someone who goes by they, them, and fits all of the stereotypes of what the right wants that person to be. If that's the case, my interest in those conspiracy theories is going to go up greatly, because thus far, history has not shown that to be likely. Thus far, regardless of who the victim was, the individual perpetrating the violence has been generally a white male with some right-wing beliefs, usually a very confused ideology, very perhaps one that shows that the individual is not in a very solid mental state. But That has been the history. So if you're going to take me and say, no, this one time it veered wildly from that directly into exactly who the right wants it to be, I would have a lot more skepticism, I will admit.
I'm looking now. There was a press conference while we were talking.
Oh, okay.
So there's more details about him, but I don't know. I haven't. Nothing's. I can't read it at the same time we're talking. What am I, Katie Tur?
Can we talk about something completely different, or would that like totally ruin this whole deal?
It depends on what it is, because I have an agenda with you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you do your agenda. That's fine. I'll make you have me back on and talk about what I want to talk about.
Well, what was it?
I threw a party this weekend that I want to talk about. It's called a favor dinner. And I only want to talk about it because I think all of this is awful. And the goal, regardless of what happens, who did what, the goal of violence is always going to be, the right is always going to use it as a way to try and like just further divides, just like make those bigger, make people angrier, make them more upset. And lately, the only thing that I can think to do to combat that is to try and pull people together. So that's all.
So no, you can absolutely do that, because that has been something that I've been saying and doing differently than what you did with this party, perhaps. Well, I guess I threw a party this weekend too. I had a party for listeners and subscribers at my friend's farm. I should have invited you but it was like 6 hours away, but in upstate New York. But the point is,
I want to go to a party on a farm. It's fine. Whatever. No, go on. Keep talking.
A lot of people said they didn't want you there, but that's why I didn't invite you.
That's
they
fair.
said you were troublesome. And they said stuff about your bangs. So, by the way, she brought it up first, by the way. She's like, I'm late because I was blow drying my hair. I couldn't get my bangs. Like, I didn't pick on her. I would never do it. She started that, you assholes. So here's the deal. I feel, based on what you said earlier, we are in it. We're here. This is fascism, whatever you want to call it. It's authoritarianism. It's fascism. It's just what Orwell predicted. It's the government doing things that, the right always said they were going to do. Now they're doing them. And so we're here, and it's not changing tomorrow. As much as you and I are going to continue to fight and do whatever we can in all the different ways, it's not changing. So what can we do? What did other human beings and are other human beings doing in these paradigms throughout human history and now in places like Hungary and Russia, et cetera? And the answer is what you're doing. It's bringing people together. What we can do is create community in all the ways, virtually, locally, like I did this past weekend, like you did this past weekend. It's a very important thing that you can do to help people enduring this human experience at this time that we did not expect to be in. So absolutely take it from there and tell us what you did and why you think it's important.
Okay. So I don't know if you've all heard this little story, but I had heard it, where this mom tells her son, go next door and ask the neighbors for some salt. And the son's like, we have salt. Why would I do that? She's like, just do it. Go next door and ask them for some salt. And he goes next door and he comes back with some salt in a container. He's like, why did you make me do that? There's salt right there. In fact, we have 3 different kinds of salt. Why did you make me do that? And the mom said, because I know that they are going through a hard time and they are going to need something from us, but they are not going to want to ask us. So let's be in their debt so that when they need things, they feel comfortable coming over and asking as well. So that story, I just had it in my head. And I think because I live in idyllic suburbia, I live in a lovely small town, and with houses, and there's apartments and there's families of different from different places here. But it is a very it's neighborly and friendly. But if I need to go to the train station, I'm calling an Uber. That's because I don't want to bother anyone with taking me to the train station. And it was actually that exact experience that made me go, wait a second, I know 10 people I could have texted. Why did I do that? Because I can afford it, because it's $8, $10, it's not a huge expense. That is ridiculous. I'm creating more, I should be asking people for things, and I don't want to do that, but I should be. So this was a favor dinner. So I asked, and I have this whole group, whatever, and I asked them all to invite people. So it was a bunch of people at my house, many of whom I didn't know. Everyone had to show up and write down they had to come with a favor that they wanted. not something they wanted to give. Everybody wanted to help, but they had to come with something they wanted, which took more work. And it was things like
build a sauna.
Yeah. I mean, the one guy was like, can I say I want $1 million? I'm like, yeah, okay, probably no one's, go ahead, man. But like, no, I mean, one person was like, I don't know how to hang things properly. Can someone just come and help me hang things on my wall? I haven't put anything up because I'm afraid I don't know how to do it. Somebody else, was like, actually, I'm going out of town. And it'll be my husband and my kids. Like, could someone bring over dinner one night? Like, I usually actually do the dinners and stuff like that. Somebody was asking, like, does anybody have trimmers? Because I really need to like deal with my bushes and I don't have any. And I, stuff like that. One person was just like, honestly, I don't know anyone here to go to karaoke with. Would someone take me to karaoke? Like, it was any, or watch my cat while I'm gone, or any number of various types of things. And everybody wrote down their favor, and they wrote it anonymously, so you didn't know. And before you left, you had to sign up for somebody's favor. And then I matched everyone together and put them a little text being like, hey, so-and-so, this person's going to do your favor. Here you go. You guys figure out the details. Because I want to create a community where we are obligated to one another and where we ask each other for things. So I don't know. I just it was just a new idea that I thought I'd try, but I think it went really well. And I'm pretty excited about it. So
and everybody in the chat loves this. I'm going to steal it and copy it. I think it's wonderful. I think it's even more wonderful that you are anonymous about. I bet you the person who needed help in hanging shelves was a woman, but I mean, I think that, and I bet you there's also a woman who said, I'm going to be out of town. I need someone to cook for my husband.
All right. Sometimes we have stereotypes because there are a lot of people for whom that fits, but that doesn't mean that they're true always. It just happens to be true.
I think that, and the karaoke was a gay guy. No, I think that is absolutely brilliant and genius and wonderful and exactly what we need. And you are the one we've been waiting for reasons like all of the ones we've been talking about. I want to do the favor dinner. I want you to lead it. I want you to host it. And I'm going to invite all the stand-up listeners to it. And we can have it at your house or another venue and local to you. So you have to do very little other than just
somewhere. But I don't have to be there. But I just was really happy about it. I think it went really well.
You don't have to be there? Oh, thank God.
I mean, either way.
No, that is
how my bangs go that day.
That is a pay it forward idea. That is a steal that idea. And a great way to build community. And just the point of it is we don't want to ask for help. I went through this. You're that type of person. And this is a way to create, God, it's just brilliant. I don't need to recap, but everybody hopefully heard what you said, and I'm going to clip it out and talk more about it and franchise it. It's a brilliant idea, and I will absolutely promote it. And I hope that you will continue doing it and spreading.
As long as we're still living under capitalism, though, I get 10% of any merchandising you do from this. Okay. All right. I just want that.
By the way, when that shelf gets hung and when that karaoke gets done, I get invited
I'm not saying we should live under capitalism. I'm simply saying this is where we are. So here we go. I got to get mine.
I can't stop thinking about what I would ask for or what other people might ask for in general. That is of a category that shouldn't be too hard for someone to be able to do for you. And I think that's the point of the exercise, maybe,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is something that that shouldn't be too hard. And that, in fact, most of us would go, well, can I pay someone to do this? Can I, I don't know. Can I, because we're trained to do that in this place. And
I'm just thinking of all the jokes now. The joke ones that you would.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. No, we should do one just with comedians.
All my main jokes are primary something subtly intimate of some sort. Looking for someone.
I know where all your jokes went. It was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
And then I tried to go higher brow, and then I had nothing. My brain was empty.
Okay, fair enough.
Beautiful and thoughtful and hilarious and brilliant as always. And I love that you changed the subject. It was absolutely perfect. We have lots of people watching live, and I want to thank everybody who watched live. And Maura, since we do have so many people watching live and so many people that will listen later on the podcast, is there anything particular that you would like to plug before I say goodbye?
Nothing too much, but I will always shout out the organization that I'm with right now, fairshareusa.org, I think or Fair Share America. I never know which one's the handle and which one's the website, but fairshareusa.org is the website. Go there, sign up, get information for us, because all of these fights are long and they're going to continue. And we're looking to do a bunch of town halls and activations around the country. So hopefully more news there soon.
Love it, love it, love it. Love all of what you're doing. I'm so glad you were available today. You were the perfect person to talk to. That's the only thing I do right. I found the perfect person to talk to here on Friday to wrap up the week, and it's you. I really appreciate you as always.
Thanks, Pete. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Everybody watching live, thank you very much. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic to support my work, to have more conversations with more people like this. Thank you, guys. There you go. Maura Quint, everybody. Hope you liked it. I hope you go follow her on TikTok and Instagram and Blue Sky, and support Fair Share America, fairshareusa.org. That was awesome. I hope you liked it. I learned a lot, and the ending there was real important. I'm going to clip that up, and we're going to talk about how we can somehow build on it, copy it, whatever. I hope that you appreciated my conversation with Maura Quint, and if you'd like to now stay and listen to my conversation with Christian Finnegan, it too is real, real good. As always, you should follow Christian on Blue Sky. You should subscribe to his Substack. It is newmusicforolds.substack.com. If you're a music person and you're not subscribed to that, what is wrong with you? If you love music, newmusicforolds.substack.com. And also, of course, see Christian live. Christian Finnegan, one of my favorite comedians of all time. You saw him on the Chappelle Show and VH1's Best Week Ever, and so much more. He's been involved with so much over his career, and I love the man. I love talking to him. I love the way that he thinks, and I was happy that we got to catch up yesterday. Let's do it right now with Christian. Yes, Christian Finnegan is available, and I was going to put a cap on it and start drinking and go to bed, but I figured I'd call a sober friend who is not only that, but one of the smartest guys I know, but really has got a great way of talking and understanding culture and the current moment, and is paying a lot of attention, as always, to what young people think, which I think is really important. And I'm really happy to have you here to talk about the latest, because honestly, I think you're one of the best people to talk to. So I'm glad you were available here late on a Friday night. Thanks for joining me. Well, it's only 5 p.m., but.
Well, thanks for having me. And I don't necessarily know that I'm clued into what young people think as much as I am aware that young people think, and that young people are creating the world, and that we are the tail, not the dog, that they are setting the conversation, and that all of this stuff that we're experiencing, or at least a lot of it, is really downstream from online culture. And that seems to be the thing that gets glossed over. And then, people say things like, oh, social media is a cancer, which is what the governor of Utah said today, and things like that. But it's not. We need to get more granular than that, because I've never spent time on 4chan. I don't do Discord. I don't do those things, but I know that they exist, and I know that I'm sorry to just spew right in, but it's like, I told you, I've been like walking around in impotent rage about this for the last 3 hours.
Well, I'm glad to tap that rage. The shooter trafficked in those spaces, and that's why it matters. But we're used to these when terrible things happen, or when a killing happens like this. This is pretty unique. Assassination, a political assassination, or a plane crashes, or the Boston bomber. The mainstream television news, they're live, and they're bringing on their, quote, experts, and they're bringing on their national security experts who have sources in the FBI. So 2 days later, 1 day later, they've got sources. They're getting certain things wrong, certain things right, but they're relying on a lot of traditional kind of sources and venues. And in this case, people like Ken Delanian at MSNBC and others, whose job it is to get it right or getting it wrong. The Wall Street Journal got it wrong.
Yeah, either they're getting it wrong, or they are willfully not getting into the weeds about it, but in a way that gives an impression towards a narrative. That people, and I don't just single out Ken Delanian, but certainly I would group him in this group. They're willing to let a narrative sort of float out there if it sort of fits framing that they, as sort of 20th century minds, are comfortable with. Oh, he's a left-wing killer. He's a right-wing killer. That's just not the way these things seem to be happening at this point. It seems like a lot of these shooters are performing for each other. That this is to impress the other dudes in their message boards, and they're using the language that this meme culture of sort of jokes upon jokes upon jokes upon jokes, that when a fascist writes, or, you know, when a shooter writes, "Hey, fascist, catch," on a bullet, that you can't just take that at face value and say, oh, well, clearly that must mean he must support Bernie Sanders and he must he must want to be a trans rights person. Like, that's just not what that means. If anything, it's an ironic signaling from one group of fascists to another. Honestly, I mean, I'm a little out of my depths on that, but I mean, well, I've been listening to news all day. I've not heard one person say the word groypers, and that seems to be, to me, where this is coming from. These are sort of Nick Fuentes aligned right-wing people who think that Charlie Kirk was a fascist because he was too cruel to them. Not that he was too cruel to black people or trans people or anything like that. Is that they didn't like him because they thought he was too moderate.
And you made the point before we hit record about that this country and other places like Egypt and Israel have a history of the people who are the assassins being the extremists, meaning they killed Yitzhak, what's his name, Rabin. They killed Anwar Sadat and Malcolm X. Those are the three great points that you made to me. You make the point.
Yeah, but
why am I here? Why am I even here?
That oftentimes, I'm not going to say all the time, because certainly, you know, James Earl Ray, there's certainly people who assassinate people from the other side of the political aisle for various reasons. But at least it feels like in my lifetime, at least half the time, these assassinations have been carried out by people ostensibly on the same side of the spectrum, that they are people who believe that they have been betrayed by the Yitzhak Rabins or Anwar Sadats or Malcolm X's, you know, and to not even have had that sort of, you know, sure, a lot of the news coverage over the last couple of days is, hey, we don't want to assign motive yet, and yet probably left wing, you know, could have been trans, you know what I mean? They're willing to let that sort of waft out there into the bloodstream, but doesn't past experience show these experts that the fact that it was probably or quite possibly an extremist on the same side as Charlie Kirk is as valid a possibility? I don't understand the reticence. I think that, again, this is another example of mainstream media wanting so hard to not appear left wing or not appear liberal that they will 100% just accept any right wing framing and treat that with good faith. And even when they're proved otherwise, won't go back and correct themselves.
I haven't been paying as close attention as I normally would for several circumstances over the last couple of days. But the other thing I did see is that Utah governor basically asking, you know, the obvious question after a shooting like this is, what was the motivation of the shooter? Who was it? I mean, we jumped at the conclusions right away. I mean, as soon as I saw an old man on his knees, I was like, that guy's mad because his kid was trans. Like, I did my whole thing. And so in this case, Spencer Cox, is that his name? The Utah governor, he basically said, you know, catch this fascist or whatever. And so what do you think? He too is then misinforming. He's sitting here talking about misinformation, and he doesn't know that that is a gamer meme. He doesn't know that. His people didn't tell him that. There's too many old people.
Or if they did, they just omit that information.
Maybe.
And I'm not going to say it's 100% overt and malicious, although in certain cases I believe it is. But let's give Spencer Cox the benefit of the doubt, because he seems to be trying to take a reasoned, empathetic stance to all this. They will let that shit waft out if it sort of implies a certain narrative, and they will leave out the fact that, like, the bullet that apparently killed Charlie Kirk had a meme on it that was about, like, furries and like trans furries, and but like an insult, like as far as I know, this them, is that a bulge or whatever? You can look it up yourself. These are jokes upon jokes upon jokes that have sort of lost any context other than to the initiates, to like the really hardcore Discord or 4chan type people. And again, I'm 52 years old. I don't know this terminology well, but at least I understand that I don't understand. And to see these people just trot out these musty kind of like, well, he said, "Hey, fascist, catch." So that must mean he's left wing. Like, not everything is the Weather Underground. It's not 1968 anymore. We have to update our fucking framing on what domestic terrorist looks like.
It's such an important point. All these points you're making, I'm glad that we connected to talk about this. I mean, people are reacting to this in all kinds of ways, predicting all kinds of things. Elected leaders reacting one way and some elected leaders in another way. Media. And it's hard to follow, and people are scared right now. Man, I have heard from a lot of people. And in the midst of this, there's school shootings and swattings happening all over the country. And so we're really at a fever pitch right now. We're really up there, very tense, headed into the weekend in America. And I have, I got to ask you, because you're one of the most reasonable, critically thinking people, and certainly would never be scared to disagree with me or anybody, I think, politely. But I also think, like in this case with you, I just really want to know what you think about some of the conspiracy theories, because I got some smart people and reporters saying things that are making me, want to challenge them. But is there anything that you've heard so far that makes that, what questions, just asking questions, what questions does Christian Finnegan have about any of the wild conspiracies that have come out of this already?
I don't, honestly, I'm not 100% sure which conspiracy theories. The only straight up conspiracy theories I've been hearing about have been between like Candace Owens and Laura Loomer,
let me
blaming
throw at you,
Yahoo and
let
stuff
me just
like
throw
that.
this one at you. There are a lot of questions around the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, and that we never saw pictures specifically of the ear and all that. I think that's the main question.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely.
And so people called that a false flag. It was huh?
It to me, it reeks. There's
right.
a stink surrounding that.
A lot of smart people saying that one reeks. That being said, I don't think that Donald Trump or his campaign or anybody had anything to do with that shooter. I haven't seen the evidence. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. In this case, a lot of people are saying the one that I'm hearing the most is that this somehow was ordered by someone as a way to distract from the Epstein files. I personally find that stupid. And the reason I find it stupid is because, yes, it will distract from the Epstein files for 2 days, maybe a week. And we will go right back to the Epstein files because it is a media dream. The Epstein files is great for politics and it's great for media. It's sex, it's salacious, it's potentially Donald Trump and other powerful people. It ain't going nowhere. It's dumb to think that it would be a distraction, but maybe that's how dumb they are. But I just don't buy it. I just don't buy any conspiracy that would require more than two people. Go ahead, tell me, play it out. This shooter was who? He was hired by who? When? How? So I have all these questions, and I wonder if you want to respond to any of that.
Well, I think that there's a middle path to saying between this is a multi-level conspiracy between Kash Patel and whatever, and saying that it's nothing we can do about it. This is just what happened. I think that there is an infrastructure in place that is well oiled at this point to take any topic that is advantageous to MAGA and put that in the media crosshairs, and the mainstream media not wanting to seem like they're, again, not wanting to look liberal or not wanting to look like they're not taking it seriously, will just jump at any fucking shiny object the right wing pulls out. And so even if you don't believe that there was a conspiracy to send this kid up onto the roof to shoot Charlie Kirk as a way of distracting from Epstein, the sort of right-wing propaganda arm, and by that I'm talking not just about the actual elected officials or employees or whatever. I'm talking about just online posters, just MAGA people, your uncle. There is a immediate embracing of this is the story now. This is the story, not what the story was before. This is what we're focused on, and this is what's important. And if this had been, and I'm leaving open room for the fact that maybe we're going to uncover that this kid was secretly a massive liberal, and in that he was, trying to murder Charlie Kirk in order to get more hits for Sam Cedar. Like, who the fuck knows? I mean, like maybe I'll leave open the possibility. Why you got to bring
Sam into this?
I was trying to think of like what's the analog, and that's very disrespectful.
It's terrible. Sam. I'm sorry about that. Sam's actually here. Sam, sorry. Love Sam.
But I really think that it's more just that people don't even need to be told anymore. And people have been waiting. Even people who understand that the Epstein shit is shady, they want to get off of it. They just want it to go away. And the easiest way for that to go away is to have something else to talk about, and something else to feel righteously indignant about. That's not just talk about, but to feel, instead of having to be on the defensive, to be on the offense. And I think that it's a very well-oiled machine at this point. When an opportunity comes up for the, whatever, the Nick Fuentes of the world, all of the sort of on the Milos of the world, the Laura Loomers, anytime that there is a chance for them to go into offense mode, they don't need to be told. They're just going to do that. And one thing I was saying before we got online that is just very annoying to me is that, I know you have said, and I know you were talking about Bill B in DC had that post about.
Well, he texted me. You want me to read it, or?
Oh yeah, sure. If he doesn't mind.
Well, set it up. What were you going to say about it?
Well, I think. No, you read his tweet.
He said, we were talking about it and texting about it. Bill and my friend Kevin, who some listeners may know, and Bill said, this guy's most likely to be a Gamergate weirdo without much more of an ideology than personal narcissism and general nihilism. Welcome to postmodern terror. Now, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that he's also the son of a Mormon sheriff in Utah, where 80% of people voted for Donald Trump. I mean, I think that matters too. But just to be clear, I think it matters what Bill is saying about postmodern terror and Gamergate weirdo and all of the other ideologies that you already kind of touched on, but didn't quite describe it that way.
Yeah, no. First of all, I have not heard one person in a position of media authority mention the term Gamergate, which is the skeleton key to understand so much of this. I mean, I had reposted something on Blue Sky. There's an article from Deadspin whenever Gamergate first happened, basically saying Gamergate is the future of culture wars in America, and it's completely been true. And the thing is, there's always been this. Gutter, cesspool, internet cesspool, where a lot of these sort of nihilistic people function. And it's obviously only gotten worse as online communities have become, as the online world has matured over the past few decades, that's become even more sophisticated and maybe harder to penetrate for normies like you and me. But the difference, so you can say, yeah, this guy is from that world and he's just a nihilist and he's just like a narcissist and he's just sort of trying to perform for his weirdo meme lord, edgelord peers. The problem is that only one political party in this country has actively recruited from that pool, from that cesspool. Only one political movement in this country is basically using those weirdos as soldiers, essentially, as cultural warriors, whether it's in the making of memes or whether it's in the swatting of people or whether it's in, doxing professors, that they have decided to weaponize this group of weirdos. And no one deserves what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, we always have to remember that when we express glee or give in to the glee that maybe might cross your mind when something like this happens, we're not fighting them. We're actually joining them. That the fighting them is to hold on to the knowledge that people have humanity and dignity and that every person deserves personal safety and liberty. At the same time, you can acknowledge that this is, I wouldn't call it chickens coming home to roost because that's, a loaded term and all that. But this event flows, it's downstream from Charlie Kirk and from this world that has weaponized these online weirdos, that have sort of used these guys as foot soldiers to sort of bully the online public by, flame wars and all sorts of things, again, and I'm 52, so I don't want to use all the terminology, but they have, this is their, they didn't create this, but they've used this over the past 10 years, these people. And I guarantee you, I promise you, I bet 1/3 of the people hired in Doge probably have interacted with this dude in a message board at some point, because it's the same people. All the, when Ron DeSantis got in trouble because his online media director put Nazi or put fascist imagery in an online video.
Right. Yeah.
That guy is now working for the federal government. He's now an important person. I don't remember in what context, so I'm talking out my ass slightly. But you played with fire. You're being burned by the fire you made.
That's what Matthew Dowd got fired for, what you just said. You're fired. You are fired.
Oh, really?
You are fired.
He said that literally?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's disgusting. And nothing. We get nothing. And I'm not saying that obviously a lot of people have been jumping. I'm sorry?
What's disgusting?
I'm saying it's disgusting that in order to show how even-handed and open-minded are anyone to the left of, I wouldn't even say it to the left of center, to the left of center-right, if anyone expresses does any sort of math of, oh, this happened and that equals this, who connects the dots in any way has to be shunned and publicly put in the stockade and fired and because MSNBC or CNN or whoever, they need to show look how unbiased we are. And it would be nice if that sort of grace was shown in the other way too, because if so, then nobody would know Charlie Kirk's name. Because
right, yeah. There's two other big questions I definitely want to get your take on. One is keeping score. That's what I'll call it. This is the block where we talk about keeping score, meaning who is more violent, the left or the right? Who is more likely to commit a political assassination or blow up a building filled with children or leave pipe bombs at the DNC? Who is more likely to shoot up a school or kill somebody? That whole thing, keeping score. Today, I think John Jr. said the bullets are only coming from one direction, the left. The left is violent is something that we've been hearing for years from anybody from Sean Hannity to Charlie Kirk. And the reason why
mind you, he said this after all this additional information had come out. Now, granted, I don't know that he was getting people giving him real-time updates, but it's this was him still putting out these just straight up lies after counterfactual information has been released.
So the reason I think it matters to keep score is because it's public policy to keep score. What is killing children? What is killing black people? What is killing white people? What is killing old people? What is likely to cause bankruptcy? What is the best way to get nutrition? Keeping score matters. And when you're doing national security or law enforcement, you got to keep score. You got to find out where the threat matrix is so that you can resource it. I would even argue that if you're running a city or state, you got to keep score of the weather because you don't want to spend a whole bunch of taxpayer money on snowplows if you live in Atlanta and there's only one ice storm every 5 years.
Yeah.
So the score is really clear. There are absolutely people who are firmly on the left who have committed terror attacks and violence. But the score, according to every organization and the old federal government score keeping, is that the right-wing matrix of threats and people is far, far more common, more likely. Even post 9/11, it wasn't foreign Muslim jihadists. It was 100% white, anti-government, anti-abortion, religious zealots. We go on, and we could name anything from Oklahoma City to what happened to those legislators in Minnesota that we conveniently forgot. And then there are those that aren't political and so on. Christchurch in New Zealand, right-winger. So what do we want? Anders Breivik in Norway, right-winger. So scorekeeping matters, and now I'm going to shut up. That's what my diatribe is.
It does matter. It absolutely matters. And it also matters that, that, you know, even if I'll just give them a steelman, I'll take this from a steelman perspective. The strongest version of their argument, which is that let's say that it is, let's say it is more left wing. It's not, but let's say it is, or let's say it's impossible to say it's everybody. Only one side of the political argument, in terms of its elected officials, is trying to take steps to mitigate these events that affect all of us. Only one side of the event is actually trying to make changes to minimize these sort of events or to work against them. One side is actively trying to, if not encourage them, then to let them fester untouched. Like, there's only one side of the political equation that's general policy is to let the cancer run its course unabated. One side is saying we should do chemo, we should try to remove the tumor, and the other side is saying no, we're not going to do anything, and then trying to blame the other side when the cancer runs roughshod. It's as I think I said, a few weeks ago, it's like we are being doomed in this country by the presumption of good faith for people who don't have it or refuse to act in it. And it's maddening. It's maddening.
It's maddening indeed. And all good points. The other thing I want to ask you is, how are we as thoughtful, empathetic, righteous, open-minded, critically thinking, responsible adults supposed to think about the assassination of Charlie Kirk? How are we supposed to react to someone we absolutely hated and thought had done terrible things to so many people and was one of the most divisive and influential people that we disagree with, including in my own school district? Turning Point USA was very heavily involved in our school district Board of Education elections, and they were the reason, in my opinion, that we lost the board. How are we supposed to feel? How are we supposed to react publicly, much less privately? How are you feeling kind of morally and spiritually about his death?
I'm trying to push against my baser instincts, is honestly, like, I'm not going to claim I don't have them or that I haven't had feelings that made me feel a little gross or, and I'm not trying to police the way anybody reacts to these things. From a purely practical perspective, I really think it's fucking stupid to be posting a lot of shit about this. We can have conversations with the people we love and trust, and there are such things as journals. You can just write it in a journal. Not everything has to be broadcast. It's like, and I know I feel like a broken record with this, but it's this weird reality of our culture now that the thing we do the most, the thing that taps into our lizard brain most quickly, which is social media, the place we run to when we have just an urge to say something or to scream or to punch something or to break something, is also the thing that is history, is permanent. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, take a breath if you can, take 10 minutes, try. And I'm not forgiving myself for this either, but like, forego the dopamine hit of those 14 likes for the thing that, we're all trying to get that dopamine hit. And I think
that's where you ended. And I think,
yeah, I think we're all trying to get that dopamine hit. And the problem is that the thing that will give you the dopamine hit is the acknowledgement of people. When you post something, you want faves, you want retweets, and this is all cliche, but you want that acknowledgement of like, I said something and people reacted to it. And the way to do that is to take whatever you feel and turn the volume up on it a few notches, to be a little more provocative than you would be if you were talking to some random stranger in the food court. You want, so you have your basest, most primal instincts being emblazoned on a permanent record platform with a government that is literally looking for a reason to crack down on you.
Yep.
And so just from you have friends, you have family members, you have a diary. Like I said, like there's indoor, like what they say, like kids swear, like there's indoor language, that's an inside, that's an at-home word. So I'm not going to police the way people react, but for me personally, it's like, I'm really trying to not steer into that as best as I can. I mean, I've read a few tweets that made me sort of laugh ruefully, put it that way, but I am doing my best to keep my eyes in a different direction.
I can't wait till we're off air. But that being said, this is the question that a lot of people are grappling with when someone that they hate dies. In this case, someone that is so influential in the movement that they so vehemently are against: fascism, authoritarianism, Christian nationalism, racism, white supremacy, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people at our hangout last night, it's a more private space, but we're pretty honest about how unplussed they were and maybe even gleeful. And you're hearing that not from any electeds, by the way.
Yeah.
And not from, I don't think, influential people in the media, but people are saying it privately. And I am open-minded on it, and my view is violence begets violence, and less suffering is better than more suffering. And I try to be pragmatic about it, but I also just, I don't know. I kind of care.
Well, there's a middle path. I mean, there's a third way, as I believe.
Oh, I think that's a nonprofit. That's
feel what you feel, but you don't need to broadcast that. And again, I would just remind people that it's when you indulge in those feelings, or when you celebrate that, it might feel like you're fighting back. And I'm certainly not talking about pacifism and being, turning the other cheek in the face of violence and all that. But I'm saying there's a reason. First of all, we're never going to win an asshole contest with these people. Like, if you think that you're going to outkill them, you're wrong. They want to kill you as much as you hate them. Yeah. They're way more ready to kill you than you are to kill them. And that is it's not a winning strategy in the long run. Yeah. Set aside the moral aspects of it. But also it's just that it feels like you're fighting them, but really you're joining them. And I'm not saying that to be all mamby-pamby and, Mahatma Gandhi, but I really do feel that way, that it's a bad road to go down, to really overindulge those things. Feel what you feel, talk to your friends, say whatever the fuck you want. But in terms of what you're going to spend your time focusing on in the future, I'm about to argue with myself here. I mean, there's a difference between being gleeful that a father is dead, and saying, see, this is what I was talking about. Right, those are two slightly different impulses, and I may have used this metaphor in the past, and if so, I apologize. But if you're in the passenger seat and someone is driving the wrong way, and they're driving the wrong way, and then you find that, it's like, you think, no, we're supposed to be going west. And they say, we are going west. You say, no, we're going east. And they don't believe you. And then you finally pass a sign that says that shows you were right and you were going in the wrong direction. Now, you're not happy about it because you're further away from where the fuck you're trying to go. But at least there is that acknowledgement of, like, I'm not fucking crazy. You're admit that you were wrong, can't, so it's that sort of thing, to acknowledge that, yes, there is a satisfaction in knowing that you were right and they were wrong. But once it gets into death and assassinations and shit like that, it's just not it's not going to be a productive way to go.
I guess my last question is, what do you make of the celebration of his life on the front pages of newspapers or anywhere, at Yankee Stadium. I
mean, it's fucking loathsome, and it's disgusting, and it shows just how far we've allowed the right to reframe the narrative. I mean, or it's just a sign that, they won, and this is the world that they get to, I mean, we literally had a president of the United States this morning say that he doesn't care about right-wing domestic terrorism. It's like the people on the right wing, well, they're doing it for reasons. They're valid. It's the people on the left that are a problem. And I'm not even paraphrasing. That is like very much what he said on Fox and Friends this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beyond irresponsible. That is straight up incendiary. I mean, that is literally just pouring lighter fluid onto this.
Lambeau Field, apparently, where the Green Bay Packers play, Lambeau Field last night, apparently, too.
And whatever. I mean, sports is sports. It's another painful reminder of just how, as a luckily, I don't think the NBA is going to do any shit like that. It makes me happy the NBA is in the off season right now, because if the Knicks had some moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, I would be going batshit right now. Yeah. But it is just a reminder of this is why I hate sports. But just to be, I
don't think that, make it a little bit more obvious around the nose. Why is it bad to celebrate his life? He was assassinated in cold blood in public. Why is it bad to celebrate him? I know what you're saying.
Well, because it's a sense of proportion. It's a sense of proportion that equal time, or just who are you choosing to celebrate, and who are you not choosing to celebrate? What are you choosing? There's nothing wrong with the president being the president, whoever the president is, releasing a political statement on the death of a political ally or rival, and saying this is a tragedy, this can't be allowed to happen. It's a very different thing when you have the vice president of the United States showing up to help carry his coffin. Like, you are then fully endorsing that this online dude who any normal person probably has never even heard of before 2 days ago. It's revealing. It's revealing is what it is. It really shows you of where things truly are at right now. That this guy, and it's so funny hearing people talk about the cherry picking that is being done to try to paint this guy as a conciliator and as like a reasonable voice. I'll just say this right now to anybody who's never heard of Charlie Kirk and who thinks, oh, well, maybe this guy really was interested in discourse across the aisle, and just just go to any Charlie Kirk show, literally any, and watch it for 10 minutes and tell me if you think this is the kind of person that the president of the United States, of all the United States, of all American citizens, if this is the kind of person that the political apparatus of the United States should be lining up behind and promoting.
His views were despicable views, all of them. And it wasn't just one thing or one group. The way that he talked about the most marginalized, discriminated against groups in America, the way that he lied, the frequency with which he did it, the passion and, frankly, effectiveness with which he did it was horrific. He was horrific. His views were awful, terrible, anti-American views, Christian nationalist views, and the idea that anybody would celebrate his life. I had a friend jump into our high school chat where there's 20 guys who wrote a bold statement, and it was been very ugly ever since, as it should be, because this is like, it's almost like learning that your friend voted for Trump, learning that your friend is mourning Charlie Kirk. Like, how did you not already know that? But still, there are a lot of people who followed this guy and loved him and think he was a good Christian family man. And I said to that guy in the chat,
that's even okay with me. That's totally fine with me. There's a difference between that and putting the imprimatur of the United States presidency on this. There's a difference between a random guy in your group chat loving somebody that you find despicable, and draping that person in the American flag in all of the historical significance that, say, the Congressional Medal of Freedom or whatever the fuck Trump says he's going to give to him. Like, I don't care if randos, if just random citizens or just normal people felt a certain way about Charlie Kirk and want to post about how much they admired him, so be it. We disagree, but so be it. That's very different than using the office of the presidency to basically historicize this person. Is just almost, to martyr him. That's very different to me.
Really important. Very important. But all I was going to say is, like, Jesus, and I did say this to my friend, Jesus would be repulsed by Charlie Kirk.
100%. But come on, are we really going to try to expect ideological consistency from these people? I mean, that boat left the port, years ago. They're trying to trap these people in hypocrisy is useless, because when they talk about Christianity, they're really not talking about Jesus. They don't care about Jesus any more than Minnesotans care about Vikings. That's just the name of their team. Like, that's just the mascot.
Yeah.
The team is the team, and the team name is Christians.
Is there anything else around this that you're thinking about that you wanted to mention or talk about before I wrap it?
I want to say it's been a real diversion from having just moved into my new home, where I'm surrounded by boxes and using moving blankets as floor coverings. So thank you. No.
Good luck with the move, buddy. I'm excited for what's next for you, and we're really excited to have you anytime we get to see you. And I hope, you should stop by and invite a bunch of people to our hangouts. I think community is the most important thing. And not only will they love to see you, I know you'll love to see many of them who you've gotten to know, because we've invited you to our live hangs in Vegas, where you performed and killed, and we love Christian Finnegan. So I'm glad you joined me here late on a Friday to make sense of a lot of things that we have a hard time making sense of, but you always do a great job of it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching live. Subscribe at patreon.com/PeteDominic, or I will not be able to keep doing this. Do you think that changed anything? Do you think that will drive prescriptions?
The prescriptions. No, and that's why you'll never be a big dog
Charlie
in
Kirk.
This world, because
that's why
because you have a sense of shame about asking for money. Like, there's something in you that has to undercut it.
No, I don't. Click this, smash that subscribe button, everybody. How is that?
There you go. Much better.
Hey, guys.
Very convincing.
It's me. Smash that subscribe button.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And go follow Christian as well, especially on the Blue Sky, where you're posting most. Thank you. All right. Good night, everybody. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you later. All right, Christian Finnegan. I hope you like that. And Maura Quint, if you stayed for both, you are a honeybee, as you listened all the way to the end. We've changed it from bumblebees to honeybees as a tribute to Kevin Richburg's honeybees that did not sting anybody for like 3 days. It was pretty awesome. They were awesome. And so is his honey. So go get it at SlatehillEdibleForest.com. And like and subscribe, as I said, tongue-in-cheek, but also for real. Subscribe at Substack. Subscribe and like at YouTube. Write a rating and review at Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And the best thing you can do is send money to support this project and our community. Patreon.com/PeteDominic. And you can always pay more if you like. If you pay $5 and you want to pay $10, many people have upgraded their pledge or edited their pledge up, I think it's called. That's how Patreon refers to it. Either way, you can do that right now. Thank you, as always. I appreciate you, as always, and I will talk to you on Monday, as always. And not always, as always, right? But it's confusing now, and I've upset you, and I apologize. John Carroll, please save me.
Off on your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, no need to for the change to begin, they had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside. And listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up.